Welcome to the After the Show movie podcast, brought to you by your hosts Ascully and Cidtalk. We're addicted to movies. Are you? Welcome to this cold, snowy day, Cidtalk. Hello.
Cold, snowy.
Cold and snowy. And we're actually sat outside in the snow recording the podcast.
That is a lie.
All right, Cidtalk, what have you got to tell us?
Was before the after the show discussion was you messing with ordering new meal boxes.
It was.
Would you like a good meal box?
Dealing with the customer service, which, oh my God. You've got to have patience for it.
Yeah, I don't.
No, you don't.
That's why you do it.
I'm pretty good.
You do it because, oh my God.
Duh.
It's not my wheelhouse, as they say. So that's it. That was the whole before the thing of the deal and the whatnot.
The deal and the duel.
Yep.
Let's get on with the podcast then.
Bye.
All right. Saturday, November the 30th, and it is, after the show, the movie review podcast that is brought to you weekly by us, Ascully and Cidtalk. Episode 867, we're looking at the movie We Live in Time. It's a 2024 release, out now on streaming, rated R, and it's 1 hour and 48 minutes from our friends at A24. Cidtalk, can you give us the synopsis of the movie We Live in Time?
What'd you say? The box said something about being a romantic comedy?
No, the IMDB, where it categorizes movies.
Yeah.
It says light-hearted romance. Oh, feel-good romance.
Oh, it isn't. I mean, it is and it isn't.
It's the feel-good movie of the year.
It's not. I mean, it's about living life and
should I just give you the one
coming
off
to
the
the
box?
end of a life, and how do you live it? How do you choose to live, either your way or someone else's? I mean, it's
feel-good sometimes, but it's not the feel-good movie of the year. No. Let me give you the one off the box. An up-and-coming chef and a recent divorcee? Depends if you're French or English. Find their lives forever changed when a chance encounter brings them together in a decade-spanning, deeply moving romance.
That's fair.
Yes. All that stuff happens in this movie.
That's fair.
So, We Live in Time, Cidtalk, the latest A24 movie. What did you think?
What do you think I thought?
I think you thought, I am sad watching this movie.
Yes. Well, I mean, not 100% sadness.
It's quite,
so if you don't listen to our other podcasts and you've come here just to listen to the one about this movie, that is fine. I mean, do your thing. But recently, in fact, it's been less than a month since my mother passed away with cancer. So yeah, spoiler alert, in this movie, someone has cancer and we're facing the end of a life.
And it's about that a lot.
Yeah, it's about making choices when you're told the imminence of we're all going to die. Let's just put that out there. Don't mean to be a downer. This is the feel-good podcast of the year.
Totally.
That's inevitable, but it's not like imminent, right? Like you and I right this minute aren't suffering from something that we've been told will cause our death within a short period of time. Right. So then this movie is about a person making choices about how to live her life, knowing this, mixing it in with possible treatments and having a family and doing her career. And my mother did the same thing. She chose not to do any treatment because she wanted to just live until she was done. And that was her actual quote. I just want to live until I'm done. I don't want to be sick on purpose. Right. She was 83 years old. It was no guarantee at all about the treatment whatsoever. And this lady had the same. It was exactly the same. Like, we don't know what's going to happen, even if you go through all this treatment, right? So it was very prickly and raw for me, but it acknowledges that there are people in the world like my mother, who's a real person, who considered all the possibilities and decided that the whole of her life was kind of in and out of her control over the years, and this was going to be her way. Mm-hmm. And that's exactly how I saw this lady. Like, it's got to be my way, because what's the point?
Yeah, and that was that was the whole point of this movie. The point of it.
The point. The pointed end of it.
As that was unfolding, I was like, I knew nothing about this movie apart from, look at the cover. The cover just looks like it's a really fluffy romantic comedy, doesn't it? Oh, not comedy, but romance.
Yeah.
It doesn't look like it involves death and cancer. So as that started to unfold, I'm like, oh shit, this is, are you all right with this?
Yes. Oh, yes, yes.
Yeah. So luckily we got through. We got through it. In terms of the film, did you like it?
I did. I thought it was beautiful and beautiful.
Now, what I took away from
sharp and thought-provoking, and I like everyone in it and all the stuff.
Well, what I took away from it was I've never really paid attention to Andrew Garfield that much. He was Spider-Man. He's been in some other stuff. And I didn't realize how good an actor he can be. There's a scene in this one where I think he should get an Oscar. And you know what scene I'm talking about?
I think so.
The one
Is it sort of a Chasing Amy scene? Almost.
The one where she brings something up to him.
Yeah.
And his reaction to it.
Yeah.
In fact, that's what this movie brings up. It's realistic. It's like a really realistic story.
Absolutely.
And the conversations between people feel like real conversations. They don't even feel like rehearsed. Sometimes when you're watching a film, it feels like rehearsed acting lines. This feels like somebody having a real... They bring something up and then the other person reacts to it. It almost feels ad-libbed. I'm sure it isn't. I'm sure it's super rehearsed, but they felt like conversations people were really having. It's very funny. There's a lot of funny parts.
There is, yeah.
In fact, it just touches on life, doesn't it, in general?
Absolutely.
It reminded me a lot of Love Actually, but not quite as cutesy as that.
Yeah, no.
But it had Love Actually moments for me. Like there's a moment where she delivers a baby, let's say. Like she has a baby. And it's kind of in a funny circumstance in a way.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's painful, but it's funny. And it reminded me of Love Actually. It almost felt like if you stuck that section in Love Actually, it would work. Like the person giving birth in a petrol station is what is happening in this movie. It's bad because it's like somebody on the floor in a petrol station, but it's also funny, the scenario with the people who work in the petrol station helping out. And, you know, it's just fun. Fun in a giving birth way. What I recognize was Andrew Garfield is actually a really top tier actor.
Absolutely.
Florence Pugh, I already think she's a top tier actor. What did we see her in that was not Marvel?
Good People.
Yeah, a good person.
Good person, yeah.
Yeah. After we watched that, I was like, yeah, she's got what you need, you know, acting.
She's got the chop.
Acting abilities. Yeah, I was trying to avoid the chops because it's just like saying that pops, isn't it?
You're right.
Yeah.
It's gross.
So I already recognized she was good, but I don't think I'd ever really thought about Andrew Garfield, but holy shit, does he bring it in this movie?
High quality, yes.
Yeah. It's a romance. But really, is it 10 years that we cover? It says a decade spanning romance.
Oh, I wasn't really paying attention. So one of the hooks of the movie is it kind of goes around in time. So you're introduced to them now-ish, and then when they're going to have a baby, but then you go back in time when they meet, and then you go forward to when they're trying to have a baby, then you go back to now when the time, and then you go back to when they're kind of sort of meeting each other's families and there's no baby yet. I mean, it kind of jumps around. So,
but not in a confusing way.
It could be, I think, because there's no markers other than her bangs, which is her hair. So at one point she has very severe bangs. Like in America, we call them bangs, you know?
A fringe, yes.
Other times she doesn't. And then she has her hair shaved. And so you can mark the times by some of her hair situation.
They do a good job of actually saying something at the beginning of a new scene. So you they'll say something about like, oh, it's time to meet your parents or something where you can go, oh, okay, we're back a little bit.
Oh, I didn't catch that at all. So
I was never confused.
I was never confused, but I can see how people would be confused sometimes.
I mean,
being
it is called
what the
We
hell?
Live in Time, and it is slices of time what you're seeing, basically, all the way through, up to the very end. She's a chef. I really like that aspect, because I love cooking shows and stuff. This isn't based on real people, is it?
I don't know anything about it, so I don't know.
All I could find there was it's based on a book. Books are often wrote about real people, aren't they? Or like at least people's
real
experiences.
Situation. Sure.
Yeah. They felt like a real couple, and they had just regular real couple joy. And
I like their honesty, other than there are times when she's not fully honest about what she's doing. But I mean, whenever he brings up the subject of them getting older and he might want to have children, she's like, fuck you. Like, why are you even bringing this up? Like, we're just dating, and it's really rude. Like, I'm 34. is this what you think that my life is? That I'm supposed to just be a fucking baby factory? And then he gets his feelings hurt.
And then he thinks about it.
Yeah. And then we come back to it and then we discuss again. And he tells her she was rude and she kind of gets it. I like all that.
They're very different people.
Very different, which is another beautiful thing about it.
Yeah. There's a lot to like. There's a lot to like about it. But you might be sobbing a lot. Because I found moments that were really sad that weren't even like the parts that you're supposed. They were just sad parts in general. Like
when you know that there's the pending death by cancer, like we don't know. You don't know throughout. Like you thought it was a guaranteed that it was going to have a sad ending.
Yes, I did.
Wasn't guaranteed. I didn't feel that. I was like, maybe. I mean, not everyone dies of their cancer, right? So this could be a story where we're just testing the boundaries of it. And then in the end, we've learned a lesson and we live our life or whatever. There's that. And I could tell also, we didn't mention that your mother passed away of breast cancer when you were a little boy.
Yeah. And so a young mother kind of hits me.
Always. Yes. Yeah. When she's like confronting the like, well, why am I doing? So also in the story, we forgot to mention, she kind of secretly decides to go for this chefy competition that matters to her. We find out she's been a competitive ice skater in the past, and it's really important to her
that she succeeds in things
because that's her, right? And so not telling him that she's doing the chefy thing, it's like her trying to be just her without this attachment of, oh, I'm someone's woman and I'm someone's mother and blah, I get that. So we have that going on as well, like layered on top, where she's just trying to define her own self. And then him and the daughter are part of her life. They're not her whole life, which I also love because it's kind of how my mother approached things. Like she loved us, but she also acknowledged that she always had to be her own person and that it really bothered her when women obsess over their children. This might hurt a few feelings out there, but this was my mother's point of view, and it served us all well because we weren't her whole life. And I'm 57 and my siblings are older than me. We have just 4 of us. We weren't her whole life. Just like in this movie, this woman is herself. And the parts of her that need to be, she needs to do the chefy thing. She needs to like just live and then pull in the moments of time with the man that she falls in love with and with the child that they make. But it's not like, this is my purpose for living. You know what I mean? And again, that might hurt some people's feelings, but it's the truth in this scenario and in some real people's lives, which again, that got me like, oh, that's just, it seems, I bet there's going to be women and men and people who watch this and think she's really selfish. You know what I'm saying? Because the roles are kind of reversed, right? So we've got a man who wants a family.
Yeah.
And the woman who's very, very ambitious in her own, not her career necessarily. You don't get the vibe that she needs to be the best, have the best restaurant or anything. It's just that drive for her to do the competition itself, like to just be in it and to be so good at it and to know that she's good at it, right? She's the driven one who doesn't always make the school pickup and who isn't always there for supper time. And the dad does a lot of the stuff. So it's kind of reverse.
She owns a restaurant. She's also a highly chef. And he even says that, oh, congratulations on getting the star. So she's got a Michelin star.
Correct.
So she's very focused. I mean, we don't see a ton of that, but it's clear she is.
Because again, she's a whole person. And even her career doesn't define her.
No.
Like, that's what I love about this movie is that the moments we watch of her and him interacting, like her personality with her family, just a little bit, you get from her that she's closed up a lot emotionally. Right. She doesn't let things in or out. She is very protective of her own time, like her own doing things. And then I like that she... Like, did you think she was selfish or did you feel like she was just living and...
No, I felt that she was valid with what she was saying. But then she has to take her husband,
not husband,
/ boyfriend at the time, into account. And she realizes that after the fact, doesn't she? Oh, I have been. When he says you were rude, she doesn't deny it.
She doesn't have to do anything, though. Like, she doesn't have to take his feelings into account. She actually likes the moments they spend with each other.
When she's at work, it's very small, but she's at work in the restaurant, and she pulls this young chef aside to say, like, do you want to come with me on this, to do this competition thing? You'll be my commie chef. And there you see how closed up she is, because she's very businesslike. And then when the young commie chef accepts, even then she's
when
not
you say
fully...
commie chef, what are you saying?
Commie chef is like your assistant chef. That's...
You mean a sous chef?
Yeah, what they call commie chefs in French cookery.
Oh, okay. Okay.
It's your helper, basically.
Okay.
Even when the young commie chef accepts the position and she's so excited, she doesn't really show much. She tries to keep business-like and closed. Like, so you do see that she's a little bit wild in her real life, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
During, that when they meet, we didn't explain that she runs him over.
She accidentally hits him when he's on the show.
That's how they meet.
Our chef lady accidentally runs over our main leading man. That's what happened.
Yeah, it's a chance, as it says in the title, it's a chance meeting.
Oh, gosh.
And it really is. A chance encounter. So let's get on to the cast here. Florence Pugh plays Almut. What do you think of her?
Amazing.
I mean, she really is, right?
I don't really have there's not a lot of variation there. She's just super likable. And she's likable and unlikable at the same time. There are times when you're like, oh, she's pushing the boundaries here of the person I would want to be friends with, because sometimes, but.
Andrew Garfield plays Tobias. He's the man in her life. And he's also it's complex, isn't he? Like his relationship with his dad and what he's been through before he meets her and all that kind of stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's just, there's a lot of complex emotions, basically. That's what this movie is. And sometimes you have to really look for them because they're not fully spelled out. I was sad whenever he interacts with his dad, because I'm like, his dad seems lonely. His dad is just his dad.
Yeah.
What happened there? Like, we don't know.
We've kind of realized, I think, that his mom has died.
But his dad loves his son and he's like very supportive of him. And even that is kind of sad. And you don't really know what happened. Maybe the mum didn't die. Maybe it was a divorce.
Oh, true.
We're never told. That dad, I didn't put him down on the list, and he's not in it a lot, but he was excellent too.
Very good, yes.
We got Lee Braithwaite as Jade. That's the young chef. What do you think?
Excellent. Seriously, because the few moments that we see them, there is a genuine, love of them being the sous chef to our leading lady, and also just being in the moment.
Like, I'm on your side. I'm with you. I've got you.
Being in the moment of we're just run with it. Trustworthy, loyal, all that stuff without even having those conversations. Yeah. And totally down for the whole competition and accepting the cancer and the sickness and as a contained thing. And we're still going to go out there and kick ass. So yeah, I thought they did a great job.
And Grace Delaney as Ella. That's the little girl. Who's the cutest little girl.
Very good.
And I felt so sad when mum didn't come to pick her up from school.
Well, yeah.
That scene's always hard.
When they have a parent who forgets the kid. And the parent doesn't
pick them up from school. And it's the teacher with an umbrella or something and they just stood there. You're like, oh, it's so horrible.
It is a trope, but it does make you go, oh God,
This is directed by John Crowley. He directed Intermission, which we did see. Do you remember that?
Intermission?
Yeah, it's a long time ago.
What was it? What's the
2003. I'll tell you what it's about. A variety of losers in Dublin have harrowingly farcical intersecting stories of love, greed, and violence.
Mm.
And it starred Cillian Murphy, Kelly MacDonald, and Colin Farrell.
No recollection of this whatsoever.
It was very, very good. I don't remember it 100%, but I remember these actors, And I remember it was one of the first times I'd really watched Colin Farrell.
Really?
Yeah. 2003 this was.
Oh, I think he was around before that, wasn't he?
I don't feel like, for me, I mean, maybe he was, but not what I'd watched. And he also did Brooklyn, which I did not see. No? So and The Goldfinch, which we did see.
Oh, yes. I did like Goldfinch. And you know what? There's that very heightened, intimate feeling.
Right.
I feel like is a good way to describe it.
The Goldfinch is excellent, actually.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I feel like because this movie gave me a lot of feelings and their performances were amazing, that this director did an amazing job. I mean, what more can you ask for from a piece of art that it makes you feel and think and is a good way to live a couple of hours of your life? There's not much more you can ask of a creative piece of art, is there?
This movie could be like the most harrowing experience you've ever had, depending on who you are.
Or like me, it's wrenching.
Or very wrenching, or very, like, depending on how you look at it, very uplifting. Absolutely. It's got a lot going on, for sure. And it could be very harrowing for some people.
Confronting. Right?
Yeah.
Very confronting, for sure.
But it seems to capture all of life's things.
Well,
there's love and
living in time is all you're doing. So,
right.
Again, I'm not trying to dwell on my mother who has passed, but the point of her, so she went to my brother's for hospice, and my sister-in-law is a nurse, and we all then were there to care and do all the stuff. And to me, it wasn't even about her needing care. It was about the days, funny things, like not being able to find things, and then realizing that she had tucked something in. She had like a walker there at the end and has a little seat in it, and there was a little container inside, like a little storage area. We looked everywhere for something. I forget what it was now. And it was so funny when she laughed and said, "Oh, I found it." And she just lifted the little lid up, the moments of your life you're living, and he said it in the movie that he apologized that he was guilty of looking to the future for his satisfaction. Like, we better have a kid. Yeah, we better have a kid because we're both getting older. And her point was, what? Like, right now isn't important enough. And he realizes, you know what? You don't have tomorrow. I only have now. But, they worked it in there together, where she was living the now and he was building his future, basically, is what I saw.
IMDB reviews, what are those?
Those are reviews of people who do or don't like it. And then they say they do or don't like it. The 1 stars you find amusing and sometimes offensive.
Well, I'll tell you, this week, there's only 2 1-star reviews.
Okay.
So that bodes well. How many, let's have a guess, how many 10-star reviews?
7.
15.
Okay. I was joking. I thought there'd be way more than that, but hey.
All right. So these are the 2 1-star reviews. First one says, horribly boring. Avoid.
Of course.
I didn't like the female lead's character at all. Left the theater after 1 hour.
Didn't like the lead. You know why? Because you're a close-minded prick. I'm just going to put that out there.
It's a boring, meaningless waste of time.
Oh my goodness. Who are these people?
I did get the tickets for free, though, as it was a pre-screening, but it still wasn't worth it. The second one says, I stopped watching an hour in. Another one.
Why? Is the question? Why?
It feels like propaganda against women who would prefer careers over marriage and family.
Okay, I'm going to have to say I kind of get that vibe. When at some point she sort of does her competition and then she's like, my child, my husband. I was like, oh, you're kind of erasing that independent, I'm just me. But then you have to accept they are just a part of her life. And as we go then and do some ice skating, as we do, and she completely separates herself from them because she's feeling the glory of her in her own body of feeling the ice skating experience again. That's all hers. It has nothing. He was nothing to do with her life. She didn't have a child when she ice skated. Her life would have gone on probably. He
didn't even know she ice skated.
Exactly. And so in that moment, it brings you back to she's just her. 100% a human who was born, lived her life, and then she died. And these people were part of that.
So the rest of this one says, there's no chemistry between the 2 leads. There's actually full-on chemistry between the 2 leads.
I agree.
I felt it.
I agree
completely.
with you.
And also, there's a gay couple at a dinner party that literally don't speak. How diverse.
They weren't a gay couple. They were twin brothers, you dickhead. Oh my God. People are so dumb.
So
I'm judging because I'm in that kind of mood. Like, fuck that. Are you kidding me? If you're too dumb to notice that her brothers come together with her mother and her sister to meet his dad.
Exactly. Pay attention if you're going to criticize.
A gay couple who happen to be identical to each other.
Yeah. Extras, we watched the streaming version. We watched an extra. It wasn't much. It wasn't up to much, was it?
It was just a
promotional thing. All right, so let's give We Live in Time a score. I'm going to give We Live in Time an 8 out of 10.
I'm giving it a 9. I'm going full on.
It's very good.
It's very good. I loved it. And of course, it's going to be down to partially because of the timing, but I don't care.
We Live in Time.
I probably would never watch it again. It's not that kind of movie, but
I mean, I might if it's on, kind of thing. It's one of them where I would sit and carry on. There are scenes in it I would like to see again. That is our movie review of We Live in Time. Thank you to A24. Next week, we're looking at the movie My Old Ass. My Old Ass. That's what it's called. Starring Aubrey Plaza.
Okay.
So we'll have a look at that next week. Movie recommendations. Love Actually really came into my mind a few times during this movie. It's not a Love Actually type movie, but there is some sentimentally stuff that kind of...
I mean, I get where you're going with that.
So Love Actually and A Good Person starring Florence Pugh.
A Good Person is good. It's also challenging because you have to accept that people are flawed.
And she's being very natural in it.
Absolutely.
I don't know. She pulls at something in that movie, doesn't she? Especially the scenes with...
She's living in time.
Yeah.
She's living in the time of her time.
What are your recommendations?
My recommendations are going back to the 20th century, and these are just movies I've seen. So if you want to be just like me, then you're going to want to watch all these movies, regardless of the quality. But these are some pretty good ones. So we have Moonstruck. Snap out of it, for Cher. Stand By Me. Don't, whatever that song is.
Don't get us copyrighted.
No. Deep Impact, which I happen to have liked, but I understand people are torn on that one. The quality.
Well, it came out at the same time as Armageddon.
Yeah, and the other one with the tidal wave as well. The Accused, also, that's a good one. That's a drama, of course. And then Star Trek First Contact. Star Trek First Contact, which I need to now get into my Star Trek. I've got every Star Trek that's ever been made, and so I need to actually consume them again, and including the movies.
You haven't actually consumed some of it, like Picard and...
Correct. Discovery, all of Discovery.
Yeah. And the New Worlds, Star Trek New Worlds.
But what I want to do is watch it in order of...
Release.
No.
Chronological.
Yes.
Yeah, you can do that.
And I don't give a shit if anybody doesn't like it.
All right. Yeah, you can find a chronological guide and then just watch it that way.
Correct.
Yeah. Because you do actually have everything.
I do.
Yeah. Cidtalk, thank you for that. Ascully stuff. I've been playing a new game this week called Star Wars Outlaws. It's not actually a new game. It came out a few months ago. I tried it a few months ago when it came out, but the PC version, which is the one that I got, was so busted. I played it for a couple of hours. It kept crashing and characters kept getting stuck. It happened more than 10 times, I would say, during that first week of me trying to play it. I actually just shelved it and thought I'll wait a few months until maybe they've patched it or it's fixed, which it doesn't seem right, does it, when they take the money off you and it's completely broken?
That'll be like buying a refrigerator and them going, just plug it in. Yeah. And if it breaks down half the time, that's fine. What we're going to do later is we're going to make the part that you can put in there and it'll work then.
If you wait 4 months, it'll be fine.
Yeah.
So what I did with this game was I waited. And there was patch 2 and then patch 3. And I was like, even at patch 3, I saw people complaining that it wasn't working. And then patch 4 came along and it really is 4 months later. And patch 4's fixed a lot of the issues, and it still crashed on me once.
Okay.
Which is one time is too many times, I think, for a game. But
again, always compare it to like a device that you wouldn't want to break down. Just because it's entertainment doesn't mean that you should lower your standard of how something should operate.
But they have fixed a lot, and I am enjoying it now. There was a whole game mechanic when it came out where it's like stealth. And if you are creeping around a place and somebody spots you, and it's game over. You have to kind of go back and start again. Well, they've removed that stealth restriction now in this patch, which makes it a lot easier because it makes it a lot more fun as well instead of it being irritating. So you're sneaking through an enemy base, and now when somebody spots you, you can get into a firefight. Maybe they'll send a few people at you, and once the firefight's over and the alarms are turned off, you can go back to sneaking around again instead of it just being game over. So that one improvement for me really helps. So I've been finding I'm having a lot of fun. I've got like 10 hours in. I'm at the planet Tatooine. If you're a Star Wars fan, you know what that is. In fact, if you're not a Star Wars fan, you might know what that is.
You probably do. You should, yes.
Yeah, if it takes place between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi, so there's a lot of... You're not like a famous character from Star Wars, but you will bump into... I mean, I've bumped into Jabba the Hutt so far. So there are people that you'll recognize from Star Wars. But you're not a Jedi in this game. You're like a Han Solo type character. She's called Kay Vess. And she, does anything to get the money. And like, what's the best? Like, I don't care who I work for. I just want to get money. I want to become...
Yeah.
It's not like she wants to become rich. She just wants to survive. She'll backstab and you can take a route with it. You can if you want to work for Jabba the Hutt, you can. And you can do all bad shit for him. If you want to work for this Crimson Dawn, they call this other faction that are a little bit better than Jabba the Hutt, not some Ascully, you can work for them. So you kind of make your own adventure. It's called Star Wars Outlaws.
And don't forget, you've met Jabba. You've seen Han in the
Carbonites.
And so you know the timeline. He's sitting over, just sitting there like a little prize.
It's between those two movies. So that sounds... And it's open world. So it's not just open world, it's open galaxy. You can fly off a planet, fly into space, see another planet in the distance, fly towards it and land on it. You can go all over the place. And each place that you land on, the planet, is a whole open world. So it's like GTA has one big map. This one has 5 big maps, so there's a lot to it. So Star Wars Outlaws, it's on PC and consoles. That's what I've been playing. Cidtalk, what's for dinner?
Well, you're making the meal box. The meal box.
I am. It's
going to be pasta.
Some kind of pasta.
I'm excited. I'm hungry. Sounds delicious.
And what's your advice? And let's get out of here.
It's not really advice. It's just observation and also, inspired by this movie and recent events of my life. But time. One thing that really irritates the shit out of me is when people say things like, oh, you're so lucky you have so much time. Since I'm retired, I'm 57. We don't have children or grandchildren. These people use those things as this little marker of oh, look how superior I am because I have no time. I have no time. I'm so busy doing all this other shit. Bullshit. Right? You're not spending it. You're not making it. You're not taking it. You're not finding it. You're not making any more time than me. And you're not losing time. And I don't have more time than you. We're just living. And then we die. If you choose to use the 24 hours of your day doing 50,000 different things and doing them, I'm going to be a little judgmental, half-assed. That's fine. Do it. Do it. But don't tell me then, oh, must be nice to have so much time on your hands. Oh, because if I say to somebody, well, my husband and I watch a movie and we did a podcast. Oh, what else did you do? That's pretty much it for the day. Oh, you're so lucky. You don't have anything to do. Ugh. Maybe that's the part that really irritates me, but the time element.
Yes.
You actually aren't gaining any time by doing more things. The only thing you're doing is either living that time well or not.
Also, the kind of people who criticize you and say, so what did you do? And you say, oh, I watched a movie and did a podcast. They go, oh, so, they say that oh, great to have all that time. Yeah. But then they'll sit and watch a football game for 5 hours.
Yes.
And they don't realize that that's what they did.
Use the whole day, which is also fine. You see, this is the point.
Yeah, it's fine.
That is not superior. or in any way, even if you say, well, my whole family came for lunch all day, it's such a shame you guys just did that movie and thing by yourselves. Right. You know, the time with the family. I get it. I like moments with my family too, but it isn't superior or lesser when I'm literally sitting alone in my car driving, or I would like to be alone at that end, or I come in here, play my game while you go in the living room and play your game, and we are essentially in our own little worlds.
Also,
it's not any different.
When we watch a movie, we are family.
We are, of course. So we are living the time of our life exactly precisely as we should, because then when it's time for me to be with people, because of my personality, I can't just confront it all constantly. It makes me miserable and unhappy and unworthy of sharing that time with anyone, because I'm not pleasant. I'm not happy, right? I have to balance it out. And so that's it. I mean, that kind of went on past the point there, but just the point is, you don't have more time than me, and I don't have more time than you.
Thank you, Cidtalk. Well said.
Questionable.
Ascully.com, that's the place you can go to get this podcast. Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. You can find us on there. I'm Ascully, she's Cidtalk. You can also find the podcast on Ascully.com, Spotify, iTunes, Amazon, YouTube. There's even a short on TikTok every week. Email feedback to me, Ascully@ascully.com. Don't email Cidtalk, she doesn't want your email.
I don't have time.
And stay classy. Yeah, you don't have time. And stay classy. Florence Pugh and Andrew Garfield, I'd like to see you both in something else.
And I'm going to say think for yourselves, because if you're not doing it, someone's doing it for you.